Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Smart Integration Technology for Salesforce. My name is Glenn Johnson. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Magic Software Enterprises Americas, and I'm joined today by Mark Steinberg. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, Glenn.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on today's webinar. We hope that you will feel free to participate by entering your questions into the Q&A or chat box at any time. And we will get to those questions after the formal presentation and demonstration that we have prepared for you. We welcome you once again, and we wanted to let you know that Magic Software is a company which brings 30 years of proven experience across a wide variety of integration environments and scenarios, and as well as a technology for integration that is very focused on your business needs and requirements. We are an open book. We're traded on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange, so you can investigate the financial strength of the company, which is quite good. Our ticker symbol is MGIC. We have offices in 10 countries worldwide, over 1,000 employees, and we are growing and healthy. And so that's a good thing in the modern world that we live in, the economy that we've been through the past few years, and we continue to enjoy success, whether it be during times of recession, in the most recent recession, or in the recovery period. So that's a strength that we bring. We attribute that really to the thousands of customers and business partners that we work with and the loyalty that has developed towards the kinds of solutions that we'll be showing in today's webinar. So let's get right to it. I think one of the things that you'll hear a lot in today's webinar are buzzwords. So this little strip from Geek and Poke seems appropriate. The guy on the right says, you know, SOA, SCA, ESB, EDA, ESA, BLI, blah, blah. And the other guy says, yeah, great. And what about the ROI? And he responds, don't bother me with buzzwords, you know. So I enjoy that because it kind of is true. We tend in these presentations, both Mark and myself, to talk a lot about the technology and the buzzwords and the things that are a part of what we need to address at the IT level. But we need to remind ourselves that we're serving the needs of the business organization in terms of providing value. So throughout today's webinar, that's really the context of the technical discussion, is providing you with methods and techniques for processing information in a way that costs less, but more importantly brings greater value to the organization. And we'll be showing you some tangible ways that comes into play. So one of the things that gets costly is point-to-point integration efforts. When you have systems like Salesforce in the cloud and you have ERP systems or other software systems that you want to integrate with, typically that are on-premise, although they may be in the cloud as well, writing manual code to integrate those systems just doesn't make sense anymore. Point-to-point integration efforts, if you think of maybe a application portfolio of 10 enterprise systems, could result in as many as 45 point-to-point connections that are needed, where you're writing a program to move data and information, transform it, and all of that. And it just becomes overwhelming and, quite frankly, fragile. So because those connections can be broken when it comes time for upgrades, not only to the application itself, but perhaps to the operating system or the database. And you want to take a platform approach which is designed to really prevent that from happening. Well, how does it do that? First of all, loose coupling is a principle which allows you to not tightly bind the two sides of an integration scenario so that you are able to utilize an intermediary for the transformation of the data, the transport layer, and that intermediary then keeps its components or its way of communicating with each application separate. And by separating that or uncoupling it, then changes in one side of a transformation or communication are not going to necessitate changes to the other side. So this is a positive approach, and one that can incorporate both an approach where you see we have on the right side there things like finance and forecasting, or sales automation, marketing, web, and e-commerce, and so forth. There are various modules within ERP that are already integrated, obviously. There are extensions to Salesforce that you might have found on the App Exchange that are part of the Force.com environment that are already pretty much pre-integrated to Salesforce. And that's excellent too. That works very well. So you might have some tight integration there, but in addition, you want to have loose coupling, particularly when it comes to that integration to those enterprise systems, where it's going to be so important to be able to maintain your integration environment and processes over time. So we really would emphasize the importance of that. And then to do that, you typically have a hub and spoke type of architecture, although you might also take an approach that incorporates an enterprise bus architecture. Our technologies are supporting both approaches, but basically in the bus architecture you have more of that peer-to-peer type communication. So as we look at an enterprise application portfolio, we're going to want to assess, not only Salesforce in our system, but the other operational systems, the manufacturing systems, HR, supply chain management, logistics, PLM, e-commerce, and so forth. In addition, you're going to want to consider the processes. What is it that is taking place? Is there a user that's waiting for feedback in Salesforce, for example? Does this integration need to take place in real time or near real time? Or is it background processing? Is it a master item database that's being done in the background and there's no particular user interaction that's required or taking place? So that's one consideration. Another might be information request, where you're simply viewing information versus actually processing the information. A lot of times in CRM, we simply need to make our users aware of something like a credit hold that's taken place in the ERP system, and that they don't really have transactions to record there, although they might record communication related to that, right? And then there's the question of whether the processes that are needing to be integrated are synchronous or asynchronous. So synchronous is you're going to hold the thread or the communication open so that it is waiting for that response, and it's utilizing system resources as it waits for that response. So this is for systems that are in synchronous communication with one another. More commonly, you're going to use asynchronous methods. Even when you have a user waiting, there's typically short bursts of asynchronous communication taking place, data transformations, and so on. Now, the other question is it a short-lived or long-running process? So with a long-running process, you might have a business process where you're waiting for an approval. Waiting for that approval could be minutes, hours, days, weeks, we don't know. So also in a long-running process, it becomes important then for your integration considerations to develop alternate business processes. Maybe it's an alert, an alarm, an escalation, some other resolution process when those kinds of long-running interactions that you're expecting to take place don't take place. The user just interaction isn't there. You've got to do something, right? Another consideration is, what is our geographic span? Is it a single data center, multiple data centers? Obviously, with Salesforce, we're in the cloud, but a lot of the enterprise systems are not. And where they're located will help to determine the architecture of our integration approach. Quite often, companies are coming to us and saying, we don't really want our integration platform to be in the cloud. We want our integration platform to be on-premise behind our firewall, and we want to access Salesforce information in the cloud, but the ERP information we consider to be more sensitive. It has to be behind our firewall. That's an approach that can be supported. There's also the cloud-to-cloud integration approach, which you may need to support. So it's really a business decision, not so much a system that's dictated by what's possible technologically, because both are possible. In terms of the capabilities for integration, we also want to keep in mind that we can re-engineer the business process as we are integrating, so that it's not just about getting information from Salesforce to our ERP system. We might actually find that there are new efficiencies that can be achieved as a result of integration that allow us to change what we're doing. I mean, we talk to customers all the time whose initial approach to integration is one that still involves a lot of manual efforts, and we start talking them through and saying, why are you doing that manual export of to an Excel spreadsheet? What are the business rules? Perhaps that can be automated, and more times than not, we find that way to automate those business processes so that you can get out of the world of Excel hell, as they call it, and into the world of a truly re-engineered, automated business process, which is seamless and allows you to move at the speed of the market as opposed to moving at the speed of the spreadsheet. Now, to assess your overall project, you're going to need to look at the scope. We recommend limiting the scope in the beginning, starting with small integration processes and getting quick victories within the IT organization, and getting the line of business people appreciating what you're capable of doing right away, so that you can then just have more and more of these discrete business processes being automated and integrated through the use of your integration platform with Salesforce.com. So maybe your first project is simply opportunity to order conversion, where you have an opportunity that comes in Salesforce and you want to convert that to an order in the ERP system. That's a good place to start. Of course, there's some foundational things in order to do that, such as address book integration and so on. But fundamentally, that may be the kinds of thing that you identify as your first project or your first projects. In addition to the scope, you're going to need to do your gap analysis. What do we have in place in terms of APIs and middleware that we can use with our other enterprise systems, in addition to what we can use with Salesforce? What staff resources do we have? Do we have people who are expert in this? Do we need to hire an external consultant, utilize an outside vendor, or not? And those kinds of gap considerations are going to be a part of the process. So when you're working with enterprise APIs, a lot of things are in the cloud, of course, such as the Salesforce cloud, and you have a API that is available readily from those vendors, usually based on SOAP or RESTful web services. Sometimes they offer both. And then you're also going to have your enterprise software, and the enterprise software may have web services, or quite often it may have more proprietary types of protocols, such as with SAP and their BAPIs and ABAPs and IDOCs and all of these fun things. I told you we'd be sharing some buzzwords here with you. But these are basically objects that provide access to data and business processes for SAP-based systems. When you get into a different system like Oracle J.D. Edwards ERP system, then you're talking business functions and BSFNs and all of that. So these enterprise systems tend to have more proprietary dimensions to them. They tend to be less web services oriented, although the good news is that there are, in the last 8 years or so, have been extensive efforts across almost all modern software companies to provide these more open APIs for integration. So an integration platform like Magic Xpi is just really happy because we can just bring in and out these various web services through the API that are providing the information that then in Magic Xpi you apply your business rules to, you do the data transformations, you manage the exceptions, you monitor what's going on, and so forth. So we have Oracle validated integration, IBM server proven, SAP certified, AppExchange certified with Salesforce, and so forth, solution that is very powerful for your organization. Now, To work with Salesforce, you're going to want to have that Salesforce adapter, obviously. You're going to want to be able to publish and subscribe web services, SOAP-based. I think a system also needs to have RESTful web services, needs to be able to work with XML. You want to be able to composite application logic from things that are going on in other environments, Java classes and objects, .NET code, COM objects, and so forth. And to be able to deal with basic text files to perform the basic CRUD operations on flat files, because of the fact that there are still, in many IT environments today, situations and scenarios where older, more proprietary systems, are throwing out these exports into a directory, and you need to be able to pull that information, parse it, pass it on to Salesforce, and vice versa. They might be monitoring a directory, looking to import information, or looking to run a batch that uploads information into those older style batch-oriented kinds of apps. And when those exist, which they still do in lots of organizations, and I can feel many of you nodding your heads as I say that, then you really do need to think about an integration platform that has a way to deal with these various kinds of approaches. In addition to that, you want visual business process modeling so that you can see the business process. You want to be able to orchestrate it. You want to be able to do the data mapping, monitor what's going on in your server environment. So those are all things that we're going to be showing you in the demo, and you need to do all of this in a manner that's compliant with security approaches, that's scalable, and I'll be talking a little bit about both of those issues, and that also is SOA compliant and even gives you the ability to pull information into a variety of different client-side mobile apps that might be used in your organization, and even giving you the ability to build those client-side mobile apps, so that if you have something like an order approval process, if a customer places an order above, $150,000, the business rule in your organization might be that it requires approval from the VP of operations. They need to review that order, approve it, and then it moves on. And in another organization, you may not have a requirement like that, but if you do, well, what about when that VP of operations is on vacation in Madrid, or they're out to dinner with their family or whatever? Then it's nice to have a mobile app that they can interact with for those out of the ordinary approval processes that would be waiting for them. And it's even more urgent because it is a large amount. Obviously, you'll want the person to have the freedom to be able to do that pretty quickly. So the cool thing with the Magic's technology and with the things that we'll be showing you today is that you have the ability to very easily integrate to the ERP system, to the Salesforce system, and share that information from those various systems to the user of that mobile app that you've designed, and then update those back-end systems in Salesforce and ERP and so on as a result of the approval, so that the process can continue the way that you want it to. So those are all things that are possible. Well, what do we need to do with Salesforce? With Salesforce, we're basically, from an integration standpoint, we need to be able to deal with the objects, the metadata, the bulk jobs. We need to be able to replicate information, and we need to be able to do conversions. And so as we look at each of these, working with objects for Magic's Xpi integration platform allows you to perform this various functions like getting the objects lists and the timestamps, and updating the object structure, and merging objects, and so forth within Salesforce.com. So you want all of those capabilities to be a part of the solution that you acquire. You also want to be able to deal with the metadata, so not just the objects themselves, but when working with Salesforce.com metadata, you want to be able to check its state, retrieve the metadata, edit and create, update, delete, and deploy metadata as well. So all of those functions need to be in the integration platform system that you're utilizing. You want to make sure that you don't have a system that is simply based on moving data back and forth, but that also has operational real-time capabilities for your integration. You do want to be able to work with Salesforce's bulk jobs as well, however, so that you can, retrieve job results, check job states, abort the bulk jobs, and so forth. This gives you a lot more power, allows you to really take advantage of a higher scale processing, if you will, for your Salesforce integration. And then you also will want to be able to replicate information. Record retention and management and requirements in so many organizations requires us to be able to do more than say, well, Salesforce has the information in its cloud. In a lot of organizations, that's not enough. And also, replication is valuable because you're going to want to utilize that information in some kind of data warehouse where other applications are keying off of records that are part of your Salesforce environment. And so a great tool to have is this ability to replicate all data, replicate the updates, the deletes, and so forth, depending upon your business rule. And that will give you that capability to, to create that, behind the firewall data warehouse that sort of backs up what's going on in your Salesforce environment and gives other applications access to that information from behind the firewall as opposed to, in the cloud. And that's totally, again, a choice. I realize some people probably hear that and say, phooey, I want to do everything in the cloud. And that's great. We, totally support that as well. But you can also replicate cloud to cloud. And that might be an approach you want to take as well. So I'm not really trying to sell firewalls. It's not what we do. But we do have customers that have firewalls. We have customers that don't, that are totally in the cloud. And it's all good. So when we talk about lead conversion capability with Salesforce, what we're really doing here is looking at a way to convert a lead to a contact in an account, and you can have the functionality that you see here, the various parameters to control that conversion process. And those of us that are Salesforce users probably appreciate how valuable it would be to have the kinds of automated conversions taking place that are appropriate through the various interactions with these various business processes. So if we're bringing in, a particular contact from another system, then we bring it in as a lead, we convert it, and so on. Now, we mentioned two things, scalability and security. So let's talk about scalability first. The Magic Xpi integration platform utilizes in-memory computing through an in-memory data grid that gives you the ability for the things like dynamic scaling and co-location and right behind that are very powerful. So with the co-location, for example, what that means is that there's a grid of spaces, and these various spaces are comprised of co-located memory and processing. And so these are dedicated memory and processing units or areas that allow you to handle particular requests. And when those you have those requests, they can come in parallel because each area of memory and processing is capable of handling its own request simultaneously or in parallel to others. This greatly increases the scalability and performance of your system and has other valuable benefits as well. The in-memory approach also has the advantage of transacting more quickly. So it's not only in a grid, which makes it faster, but it also actually shortens the transaction time itself because it's using memory instead of database for the final step of the transaction. And remember, in transactions, you often have a system which is waiting for a reply, which is waiting to know that the transaction took place. So if you can cause that transaction to take place in a shorter amount of time, you increase the performance and scalability of your system. So in a traditional architecture, tier-based architecture, the last step is recording to the database, the SQL database, which is on a hard disk. And in an in-memory approach, the last step is in memory. And so the persistency of writing to the SQL database and the data tier is really an archival step, and it's not a part of the transaction itself, because we know the transaction is safe in memory. The quality of memory today and the redundancy of memory today eliminates any worries about what's going to happen in those environments, to the point where we can rely on it and trust it even more than we can hard disk storage. So as a result of that, we can reduce the transaction time to just that in-memory step, and then the recording to the back end is an archival process, which can take more time. So this also accelerates performance by utilizing the principle of write behind. So we are writing the information to the hard disk after the transaction has already moved on and the next process is waiting. Very powerful. So these two principles combined create a dynamic scaling environment where you really use this grid, this linear scalability, to improve performance, but you also use it as hot backup so that you have high availability. And that means that you're meeting two very important needs by utilizing in-memory computing for your messaging layers now of your integration platform and environment. So security is the other topic we said we would address. Now, a security approach within integration means that you may need to pass user rights and user authentication along between systems, which we can do, and also that you want to make sure that the information is being encrypted and decrypted so that it's never stored in a way that it's exposed, and it's never transported in a way that it's exposed between systems. And so the integration platform needs to give you the tools and the ability to take those security measures so that you can, with certainty, address the fact that no one has access to your information. Now, the variety of different encryption methods that are available to you are shown here, and they each have their own advantages and disadvantages. Some of the encryption methods shown here take longer time to transact or to process, but they also are harder to break. And so you want to compare, really your security requirements. What's the level of security that we require? Sometimes that may even be dictated by a regulatory, a regulator in your type of environment. At other times, it's just a matter of the CISO or others in the organization saying this is really what we feel is required for this, our level of risk, and therefore you can implement that and just understand that there are, you don't always want to choose necessarily the most secure, because it may take longer and it might not be necessary in your environment. So take that into consideration. And then the fourth element of security is having this audit trail so that you have archival and record retention of what's happened in the integration process, the ability to look into the logs and see every step that you've identified as important is logged. The attachments to those processes, the data that's being transformed, can be logged as well, so that you know date and time stamp, who had the information and when, and where it came from and where it went to. So very powerful kind of tool from a logging and audit standpoint. So the Magic Xpi integration platform, which we're about to demonstrate, is comprised of an integration platform called Magic Xpi and an application platform we call Magic XPA. These are both metadata-driven solutions which allow you to leverage the underlying capabilities of the platform so that you focus on the business logic instead of routine tasks which have been done and programmed thousands of times before by lots of other programmers. Focus your attention as a business analyst on the business rules, utilizing a Visual Studio environment, and I think you'll be much happier in your management of your integration tasks and projects in your organization. So Magic XPI incorporates not only the library of adapters for various applications that are available in the market, but also the technology adapters that you need for the low-level kinds of things like XML and HTTP, SNMP, messaging queues, and on and on and on, that database connectors and so forth that really give you the power and the capability to integrate to anything through its API or through its environment, and that is very useful. The only things you can't integrate to are things that are designed not to be integrated with, black boxes that are encrypted. If they won't let anyone in or out, we're not going to try to crack that for you. But assuming that there was some openness to the architecture, a way in and out was provided, then Magic XPI integration platform will be able to work with that environment for you. So the mobile integration is very powerful because it not only integrates to all your back-end systems so that a mobile user can have an app that has access to enterprise systems and processes and data and information, but also because the mobile app platform that we provide allows you to write once and deploy many. So this is a great tool for you to utilize so that you can pull information from SAP and Salesforce, maybe an Oracle application, a Microsoft application, whatever it might be, pull that information into your mobile users, putting that into their hands so that they can accomplish the task before them while they're in that mobile state is very powerful and useful. And we provide the technology for you to do that in a straightforward, metadata-driven way. So I'm going to, this time, pass the ball, as we say, over to Mark, and Mark will be able to share his desktop. Let me get to the right spot here so that I can do that. Hold on a second. Having a little technical issue. There we go. So I'm going to change the presenter now to Mark Steinberg. Mark, you're now the presenter, and you should be able to share your desktop so that we can see it. I see it. So Mark, take it away.
Thank you, Glenn. So as Glenn mentioned earlier, we will demonstrate today a smart and efficient way of Salesforce integration using Magic XPI that should optimize our time spent on sales operation. As you probably already know, that time is usually converted into money, so we will work today with the Salesforce account, and we will try to create a new account in order to use it later on for sales opportunities. Usually a salesperson wants to be able to create an account almost on the fly, and they can do it by just adding the mandatory information in specific fields in order to save time. And let's add one. Just an example. And the idea is to save time and continue towards creation of a lead or for all opportunity in Salesforce. They don't want to spend time to adding information that doesn't does not relevant for their sales operations. Sorry. In this specific case, we will want to skip the completion of the account data, but we want to make sure that the data will be added in the future. In our example, the completion of the account data will be determined by the fax number and the website. Of course, you can, in your specific organization, you can have your own definition of data completion, okay, and add it to the demonstrated solution that we're going to show here. Currently we will create an account without the facts and the website fields. Okay, only mandatory information will be added, such as account name and billing address. And by the time that we are going to add this account, you can see that I'm currently missing all the information about the website and facts, but I can continue and create a new opportunity or lead with a newly created account. What the integration process of Magic Xpi will do behind the scene, it will acknowledge that we have a new account and we have missing information that, of course, we have defined it in the process. You can see, by the way, that in Salesforce, one of the things that it's enabled the Salesforce user to achieve is user-defined fields. These fields also can be used in Magic Xpi to add more integration functionalities, and of course they are exposed to Magic Xpi for you to use in your integration definition. Now, the relevant information that currently is missing will invoke a specific email that will be sent, and I'm going to show it to you. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to run the integration process, and we will come back to that later on. And I will explain exactly what we see right now. So my integration process is currently running, and what it's going to do is going to query Salesforce. It will search for accounts that has missing information about the facts on the website, and it will submit an email with the missing information about specific accounts. By doing that, I'm actually releasing the salesperson to continue working on his sales operations, and I can have another person in the organization assigned to get these missing information emails. Okay, you can see that I just received a new email saying that Kevin Turner, please update your account for additional information about the website at fax number, and I got a link. Okay, so if I click on the link, I will get this specific screen. It's user-defined form. Of course, you can design it any way you want. And I can add the additional information about the fax number and about the website. Let's add something like that. And I will click on update on that specific operation. What will happen again? I don't, and the person that's supposed to update the information does not interact with Salesforce. I'm actually submitting something, and Magic Xpi will integrate with this new information along with Salesforce and will update the specific account. Another thing that you can see right here is that in case I want to see what happened in the account itself inside of Salesforce, I'm getting back a specific link that will direct me straight into the account. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like in here. Okay. And if I will click on that, you can see I just entered my Kevin Turner account, and the information about the website and the fax was just entered. Okay, and this update was happened outside of Salesforce and was handled by Magic Xpi integration process. Now, this specific information can be also be included in the short-term or long-term of the organization procedures of data completion. Okay, and again, when I'm talking about the long run, it's of course relatively according to the organization business rules. And now I just want to go briefly about the solution that you just saw about the integration from Salesforce and back to Salesforce, and show you how it's being made behind the scene. Okay, because till now we just saw Salesforce and email. We didn't see anything that goes on behind the scene. So what I want to do, I want to introduce briefly Magic Xpi 3 major components. Okay, the components that are being used to create this such type of integration are the Magic Xpi Studio. It's actually the development studio in there we are developing and defining our integration solutions. We have the server itself of Magic Xpi. Okay, we can see it in here, for example, that we can start the server and stop the server. And of course, since the server is a back-end process, okay, it doesn't have a user interaction, we still want to have any idea of what's going on behind the scene, and for that we have the last component that's called Magic Xpi Monitor, which allows us to monitor the server operation behind the scene, and of course react accordingly, manipulate the server with basic operations like starting and stopping it, and a few more. So let's go briefly through the solution, that integration solution just so for Salesforce, Salesforce account. Okay, and what you can see here is the Magic Xpi Studio, the place that where we develop the and define the integration solutions. The concept of Magic Xpi is that you can take any technology or any ecosystem that exists in the market and just add it to your integration process. The way that you develop in Magic Xpi is that you barely use code. The concept is to have a specific component that you will drag and drop into the integration solution, and you just have to configure it. Okay, such an email.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I'm sorry. Such as an email component that you can just configure, send the email and just put the information and OK. And you have a component that sends an integration process that sends emails. Okay, it's that easy. Now for our specific oh, I'm so sorry. Let me back up. So for our integration process, we had two stages. The first stage was that an information was created on the Salesforce side, and this information was supposed to invoke a specific reaction upon a missing information. So in that specific integration process, we have defined a specific business flow. Okay, you can see that we have separated. We have a specific hierarchy inside of Magic Xpi, which is defined by business processes, and then each business process has its own flow process. So in our case, we got two flows for this specific integration. The first flow, integration flow, will acknowledge that Salesforce has a new account and there is a specific and there are missing information. So in that case, you can see got a Salesforce component that we just configured. Okay, and you can see that we can query native objects from Salesforce itself, you can see I got, I'm so sorry, we got a list of objects that was fetched from Salesforce, our Salesforce account, and we can access each one of the objects and perform specific operations like bulk updates, queries, and so on. And in order to get the information, we have a mapping tool that will allow us to map the information from Salesforce, okay, to a specific midterm data storage in order to create other operations. So in that case, what we did to get the account that is missing is to get a specific account that were updated or created after a specific period of time, and we also want to create an email only with the accounts that were missing, okay, and we will have a creation of a specific HTML form, okay. I'm so sorry. An email to specific. In that case, it will be my email with specific information about the missing information. And at the end, I will also update Salesforce that an email was sent. Okay, you can see that I'm updated the account that an email was sent about the missing information. So Salesforce is also acknowledged about this information. The second step was that I got the email and now I wanted to update the Salesforce back. And in order to do that, we have a different flow that handles only this specific side of the integration and is getting back an HTTP request with the specific information that I want to update in the account that I just created. Okay, and you can see in here that we have an Salesforce account update with Salesforce account website and fax information back to Salesforce. Okay, and of course we are also modifying back the we are modifying back the user with the information about the new URL, okay, in which he can access directly in Salesforce and just see that everything was updated as expected. Okay. Now, during that process, we had also a monitor that I can open and actually see what the engine was doing behind the scene, and you can see that a specific flow was invoked. Okay, and I can see that if it was the completion was successful of the specific business flow, and what happened in the middle, what kind of operation he performed, how much time it took it, and so on. And that's basically and briefly what we did in order to create such integration with Salesforce, and I will be more than glad to answer questions if you got. Glenn will, you will have to transfer your questions to Glenn, and Glenn will forward them to me. Thank you very much for your time today. Glenn, do we have any questions? Glenn?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Ah, okay. Sorry about that. So if you have any questions this time, please enter them into the chat box or the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. The first question is, do you have anything for IBM I AS400?
Yes, we have the component for both JDE, and also we have a dedicated component for our series. So you can access natively to your iSeries and of course perform or call any application that exists on your iSeries server. If you're using, of course, if you're using JDE, we've got in-house components to communicate with JDE itself natively, and of course we have also the iSeries component that communicates with anything exists in AS400. You can see it right in here. If I will just drag and drop it, you can see you can run any operation on the iSeries itself, and as simple as that.
Okay, great, thank you. The next one is what database is used for the monitor, and can we interact with that?
Yes, you can. For the monitor, we are usually using MS SQL, but we also support Oracle and MySQL and other databases supported by ODBC. Of course, you can access it outside of the monitor using a dedicated tool, client tool of that specific database. But we are not recommending to access it manually outside of the monitor tool because of the sensitivity and the fact that you can change something or break something that will affect the monitor utility to monitor your Magic Xpi server. Okay. Usually everything is being handled within our product, so you don't have to go manually and enter the access the database in order to manipulate or observe information that's being used by the monitor itself. I hope that answers the question.
Very good. And next one, what are the system hardware requirements?
It depends. It varies between the integration processes that you want to create and define. We have a minimum requirement of 2 gigs of memory and at least 500 megs of database. I will even say 1 gig of database. Sorry, not database, hard drive. At least one type of relational database that we can install the supporting components for the integration projects. In addition to that, I'm pretty sure that an up-to-date computer will be sufficient. Server 2008 will be sufficient as well. But the amount of memory and the size of the hard drive will be dependent on the amount of threads you will consume in order to run your integration process, and of course the amount of memory that you will need to use in order to consume integration processes. For instance, if you want to process a huge XML, of course it will require you, a better amount or a bigger amount of memory to be installed on the server. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that. And it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in, so I want to thank you again. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again on another Magic Software webinar. If you have any questions about any of the topics that you've heard today, please contact us at info@magicsoftware.com or give us a call at 949-250-1718. If you're outside of North America, you can look for an office location near you on our website at www.magicsoftware.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Glenn, for having me. Bye-bye.
All right.